Hello and welcome to my second vlog. Before I get started, just to explain the change of scenery, I'm currently working away from home, so I'm in a hotel room in Sheffield, and I figured why not take the camera with me and film a video. In this one I'm going to be talking about how I'm expanding my business, then I'll do a follow-up on my dust extraction system and some changes that I've made as a result of some of the comments received on my last dust extraction video. I'll talk about what's new, what I'm working on at the moment and what's coming soon to the channel. And finally tool talk, where among other things I'll be talking about my new Makita LXT router and my new air compressor. And I've added some times for each section of the video in case you want to skip through to the parts you're interested in. Expanding my business. So as my small business starts to grow, there were three things that were really causing me problems. The first and most important is a lack of storage space. My workshop is quite small and I have a bit of space set aside for wood and materials, but not enough. Occasionally I get offered free materials by family, friends, even YouTube viewers sometimes, and I hate having to say no. I also see things left out in the street or in alleyways or in skips that ordinarily I would take and someday make use of, but at the moment I don't pick them up because I just don't have anywhere else to store them. Gradually some of these materials have started to creep into the house too. As I'm also now making things for sale on Etsy, those items need to be stored too. So for a while now I've been looking for a storage space to rent, and originally I applied for a garage from my local council and I was successful. But then they told me that it couldn't be used for storage and it had to be used for a vehicle. So then I started looking at self-storage options and private rentals, but those are more expensive and I just didn't have the budget for that. But all of the searching eventually paid off, and finally I found a storage space that I could afford, and here it is. It's a privately rented garage with a vaulted roof and there's plenty of space inside. So I'm going to install a couple of racks and I can store timber, sheet materials and some of the items that I make on Etsy too. It's also not far from my home, it's around a 10-minute drive, so that's great. The second thing I needed was a bigger vehicle, something that I can use to pick up materials, but also to deliver perhaps items of furniture that I've made locally, that kind of thing. Anyway, a few weeks ago, my beloved Vauxhall Corsa failed its MOT and the cost of repairs were greater than the value of the car. It was 16 years old, but it was very dear to me because it was my first car. I've been driving it for 3 years and I just really loved it. But I decided it was time to say goodbye. And since then, I've bought this Vauxhall Combo. It's basically the van version of my old car. This is an ex-forestry commission van. I really wanted something with a fold-down passenger seat for loading longer items, but unfortunately this doesn't have that. Although it does have a roof rack which has already proved useful a few times. I'm really happy with it, it's in great shape and it's my favourite colour too. I'm already thinking about a possible future project, which would be to add some racking to the back of the van, possibly a French cleat system or something similar. The third thing that I need is more time, and that's the one that I haven't yet figured out. But 2 out of 3 isn't bad, right? Dust extraction. Thank you for all of the feedback on my recent video about my dust extraction upgrades. Some of the comments were really useful and I thought it'd be worth talking about some of the most frequent comments and offering some thoughts on them. One of the most frequent comments was about the fans that I installed to my shed extension and concerns about rain getting in them. To be honest, I thought they were sheltered enough and that they would be okay, but the number of comments I received on this made me rethink, and I've since installed some plastic cowl vents, which should shelter the fans from the rain. I also got some comments about suction and people suggesting that the small diameter pipe that I chose to use with the extractor probably wasn't the best way to go, and that a larger pipe makes for greater suction. That was news to me, to be honest. I wasn't aware that the size of pipe affected the amount of suction, but I really don't know enough about this stuff, so I'm going to take that at face value. The trouble is, in a small workshop like mine, bigger pipe takes up more space. But in hindsight, I probably could have used something like a 50mm PVC pipe with 50mm flexible hose to connect up the machines. I don't know how much of a difference that would make in terms of suction, but perhaps someone in the comments section can convince me that that's a worthy upgrade. I certainly wouldn't use the 100mm diameter pipe, as that's just way too big. But anyway, for now, the system is working fine and I'm happy with the amount of suction I'm getting. That doesn't sound right. I also got a couple of comments saying that I'd fitted the filters in my extraction machine in the wrong order, that the red and white filters should be underneath the HEPA filter. So thank you for pointing that out, and I've now swapped them over. I also got some comments suggesting that I get an air filtration unit in my workshop. I would love one of those, but I really don't have the space. But I have been considering whether an alternative might be to put a wall-mounted extractor fan in, perhaps in my door or near the door, somewhere like that, just to get rid of some of that dirty air. I don't know how that would work and whether it's a good idea or not. If you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. What's new? First, I want to say a massive thank you to my patrons on Patreon. When I first opened my Patreon account, I set a target of $100 per month, and I think last week I hit that figure, and that money really goes a long way to help supporting this channel and keeping things going. So I really appreciate everyone who's contributed. I've been approached a few times this month by social media companies and even a newspaper, the Daily Mail, which is a well-known newspaper here in the UK, although not one that I think particularly highly of. So the Daily Mail wanted to share my electric guitar build video. They weren't prepared to offer me any payment, but they said that they would link to my YouTube channel and that it would be great exposure. They basically sped up the video, cut some bits of it out, and added some dreadful music over the top. It didn't get a massive amount of views, and it's had no noticeable effect on my YouTube channel when I've checked the statistics. So I think that's probably the last time that I'll be agreeing to something like that. In terms of projects, upcoming videos, and what I'm working on at the moment, not an awful lot, unfortunately, because I just haven't had enough time in the workshop. All of my time at the weekends has been taken up either by looking for a new vehicle or looking for a storage space, as I mentioned earlier in the video. But I do have a couple of projects in the pipeline. Someone's contacted me on Etsy about a commission to make a giant carnival mallet, which sounds awesome. I'm really looking forward to that one and hoping that that one happens. I do have a video that's almost finished about some desks that I built for a local radio station studio. I think I mentioned that in my first vlog, and those desks were installed in their studios well over a month ago now. But the reason I say the video is almost finished is because I'm waiting for them to send some final photos of the desks with all of the equipment on, as I really wanted to feature that in the video. But at this rate, I might just have to upload it as it is. A few of you may have seen that video already because I accidentally published it last week for about half an hour or so, and I saw 1 or 2 comments, but you really shouldn't have seen that, and hopefully the final video will be out there soon. And I'm going away on holiday to Malta just after Christmas, so I might struggle with my 1 video per week schedule over the next couple of weeks, but we'll see. Tool talk. As you can see, I'm back home now and back in the workshop. In the last vlog, I mentioned that I was looking for a new respirator and that RZ Masks were going to send me a couple to try out. They never arrived, unfortunately, so I ended up buying one instead, and this is the one I went for. This is the Trend Air Ace. So far it's been okay. I paid about £50 for this, so it wasn't cheap, and to be honest, it doesn't feel particularly premium in the hands, but it does seal well around the face. The main reason I opted for this one is because of the large size of the filters inside. As you can see, there's a massive surface area there, which should mean that the filters last a lot longer. The filters for this are relatively inexpensive too, unlike the mask itself. One of the problems I had with my old mask was perspiration from breathing. Occasionally you'd breathe in and you'd get a mouthful of your own face moisture, which wasn't very pleasant. This one doesn't do that. I'm not sure whether that's a happy accident or whether it's by good design. I don't know whether there's perhaps some sort of channel in the bottom to capture all the moisture, because when you take it off and tip it up, you do get a few drops. But anyway, that's good. So I'm not thrilled with this, but it's pretty good. If it was £25–30, I'd be really happy with it. At 50, not so sure. I'll leave a link to it in the description box below if you're interested in checking it out. I've also invested in a new hot glue gun by Crenova. I bought this on Amazon. I haven't plugged it in yet, as you can tell, and I haven't used it, but the build quality seems excellent, the reviews are really good, and it just feels like a much more premium device than my old hot glue gun, which is this one here by Stanley, the GR25. This didn't last very long at all. The trigger no longer feeds the glue stick through. I tried to take it apart, but I couldn't get into the damn thing, so that's going in the bin. And they call that a heavy duty glue gun, by the way. In the last vlog, I also mentioned wanting the new Makita Cordless LXT trim router, and I'm pleased to say I now have one. I actually bought this from Amazon in the USA, Amazon.com, because I had some affiliate money saved up and I needed to use it on something. But as always with Amazon.com, they don't like sending things to the UK. So I used a service called Border Links, which gave me as a customer a US address to send items to. And then when they receive the item, they write to you to let you know, and you pay them a fee for postage and customs and that sort of thing, and then they sent the item to my UK address. I think I paid around £50 in fees, but that didn't matter too much to me because it was about £50 cheaper on Amazon.com anyway, and it took several weeks to arrive in the UK, but aside from that, I was really happy with the service. I've also got a new air compressor, which you may have seen in my recent dust extraction video. This is by Ozario, although the name on the box that it came in was Katsu. I had always assumed that quiet air compressors would be really expensive, but when I looked into it, I found this one and it was around £130, which I think is pretty cheap. I'm really happy with the low level of noise. That completely surpassed my expectations. It does vibrate a bit in my shed extension though, so I did make a little stand for it to sit on out of a piece of OSB and some scrap pieces of foam that I had, and that completely resolved the vibration issue. The build quality of the compressor is pretty low, to be honest. There's lots of sharp edges and it just feels a bit cheap and nasty. But at this price point for a silent air compressor, I'd kind of expect that. But it works well and it does everything I need it to do, so no complaints. I wanted to link to this in the description box too, but the Amazon listing seems to have mysteriously disappeared since I bought it. But if I manage to find somewhere else where it can be bought online, I'll include a link. Recently a company got in touch with me about trying out a laser engraving machine in one of my videos, and I was really excited about that, but when we got to discussing it, they had some quite high expectations of what they wanted. They wanted a minimum of a 4-minute video, and I don't think you guys would be interested in seeing something that length. I was hoping it was something that I could show you in this vlog, but that didn't really work out as planned. I want to thank my friend John Murray from Blind Bear Designs. Definitely check out his page. I'm just covering up his phone number with my finger because I'm not sure he'll want that on the internet. John's also a member of the Woodworking UK Facebook group, which is really worth checking out if you're a woodworker in the UK, and he's a patron of the channel too. And he kindly sent me this beautiful record number 9.5 block plane, which I'll definitely be putting to good use. Almost dropped it then. Thanks, John. Happy Christmas!